Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Jose Mourinho and Manchester United appear to have missed out on a major summer transfer target. Now, whether Manchester United were actually in for this person, most Manchester United fans would like us to be in for him. Prime midfield target that will massively improve our weak midfield in the absence of, with Michael Carrick retiring, you know who I'm talking about, Fabinho from Monaco. Canal Plus, who are a big outlet in France, are saying that he is about to sign a new long-term contract at Monaco, which is absolutely, I wouldn't go as far as saying devastating, but really disappointing news, because we know that Manchester United do need to improve the midfield, and Fabinho as a CDM stroke right back, he can play there very, very well, would be perfect. We were talking, I still would have took him over Matic, and Matic has been very good, but I'd still take Fabinho over Matic last summer and this summer, because he's quicker, he's only an inch or two smaller, a lot younger, better on the ball, more mobile, like I said, would be perfect for the modern game midfielder. You look at teams like Manchester City with Fernandinho, you look at Spurs with Wanyama. This is what you need, a bit of speed around that midfield, somebody who can break up the play, pass the ball around well. I think we are living in the past a little bit with our midfield. It is a bit sort of, this was what worked a few years ago with Matic and people who are slightly slower. You know, you can position yourself and get away with it. Football's moved on, it's a lot quicker, and Fabinho would have been perfect. Now, fingers crossed there isn't anything in that, but it's not, one, Canal Plus are quite reliable. Two, it's not really the tagline that people go with when you're approaching the summer transfer market, especially when Fabinho's been quite, open to a move. For him to be signing a new contract at Monaco would mean he isn't going anywhere in the summer, which would be absolutely devastating, really. He's bottled it, says Eric Ross. League One is a pub league. Bakayoko looked awesome there and say Fabinho carried him or not. Fabinho was always too risky and Josie can't afford a risk right now, says Carl Thompson. Remember, Fabinho's agent is George Mendes, which is Mourinho's agent. Paul Robinson says we're living in the past with Mourinho, you mean. Jose should just Monaco long term, you're kidding me, says Jason McDermott. And I'm gutted that Fabinho isn't coming, says Andrew Ellis. I think Fabinho would be perfect for the Premier League, perfect for Manchester United. I mean, let's be honest, there was no definite guarantee he was coming to United. He could have gone to Man City, and I still would have applauded Man City for it. I think he is a very good midfielder. Why he wants to stay at Monaco, I don't know. I think he can do better than that, and I'm still clinging to the hope that he might want to do better than that. But it looks like he's going to sign a long-term contract with Monaco, which will totally close an avenue off. And the reality is, as you go into a midfield transfer market, which it is for us, a midfield transfer market, you want to be able to have as many avenues to go down as possible. You don't want to get boxed in on one or two targets, which all the top clubs are looking at. We said yesterday, Vidal's an option, but he's 31 in May. Fabinho was an option. Is he still an option? Potentially not going to be because of what I've just said. Jorginho, I like him. He's probably more risky than Fabinho. Milankovic-Savic looks very, very good. More box-to-box, more attacking, very, very expensive. And then other people, well, like I said, I think it's an option gone. And when you're looking for a CDM, I know we're being linked to Seri. Well, Seri plays in France as well and suffers with the cold. If you're going to go for Seri over bloody Fabinho, you've got to go for Fabinho as far as I'm concerned. And look, hopefully there's something in it, but it is very, very disappointing. Paul Robinson's right. Fabinho did say in the summer it's his last season with Monaco, which is why it's really, really weird that this rumour is coming out that he's going to... Ben Josh has just made me laugh. I did a Christmas stuffing video and he's just tried it. It is top notch. It is top notch. Have it with a bit of turkey. So Fabinho is quality. Matic is crap, says Frozen Turkey. That was something that went on the United Stand YouTube live comments on nearly every video last summer before we signed Matic. So a little bit of a blast from the past there. Mussy K, my thoughts on Jorginho are that he's good. I like Jorginho. I've mentioned him a lot, but he's certainly, he's not dissimilar to Fabinho, to be fair. He's quick across the ground. He's around 6 foot. He's good on the ball. And he's a CDM. So, look, if we're not getting Fabinho, Jorginho's probably the one to go for, because when you're talking about Vidal, when you're talking about Milankovic-Savic, they're more offensive box-to-box players. We need somebody who can sit in front of that back four, but has to have some speed about them. Got to have some speed about them. It's really important. And just what Paul was saying there about Mourinho and being stuck in the past. We're coming up to a really, really important period for Manchester United, and the reality is, I know some people don't like Mourinho, but I think we really need to face facts here. I'm going to tell you a little story. Barcelona have an ethos on how they should play football, and they never steer clear of it. Whoever they bring in as the manager, it's got to be somebody who will stick to that identity that Barcelona have on the pitch. And we all know what Barcelona's identity is. It's attacking football, it's possession football, and it's a certain way of doing it. Mourinho doesn't fit in with Manchester United's identity of fast wing attacking play football. Risky football. He doesn't fit in with that. In fact, he's totally the opposite. He doesn't really use wingers, and he's very pragmatic. That's not Mourinho's fault. I think Mourinho has realised now that he's got to change, but when he came into the club, he probably wasn't given that sort of direction from the board, because when you look at what the board did, Sir Alex Ferguson fitted the ethos of Manchester United, and to a T. David Moyes didn't, Louis van Gaal didn't, Jose Mourinho didn't. That is not real. Although two of them are very culpable to where we are now, they are not to blame. They are not to blame. Why did our board go against what is our ethos? Like I said, you look at Barcelona, they would never give Mourinho the job. They would never give David Moyes the job. They did give Van Gaal the job, but Van Gaal used to be a very, expansive, possession-based manager. God knows what he became in his later years, but it was nothing like what he was at Barcelona. But they have an ethos, and we don't. We do, but we, i.e. Mourinho's employers, Moyes' employers, have moved away from that. So I think you've got to be very, very unfair. You've got to be very careful in relation to criticising Jose Mourinho, because he is what he is, and I think he's trying to change. But the board must be must be accountable. Jorginho's sort of in between, more offensive than Matic, less offensive than Pogba, might be a good midfield three, says Andrew K. And Mini Diver said Fabinho said 2 months ago he's gone in the summer. Yes, exactly. He did say all those things, but not what is happening tonight. Remember to drop us a like on the video and get involved. I just want to give a shout out as well a little bit earlier in the video for our Patreon page, which is like our new United Stand sort of members club. A few people have signed up for it. We are going to be doing a live stream on there once a week. Nothing off YouTube's changing. 8 o'clock show still going to happen. We're live again at 1 o'clock tomorrow with the preview, so no content off YouTube is going. This is extra content which will be on our Patreon page. Link in the video description, or click the eye in the top right hand corner. We've put 2 videos up there this week. One was a comparison of how Sir Alex Ferguson would line up with the current Manchester United side compared to what Mourinho does, and the differences are outstanding and extraordinary. And then we've put another one up today, which is about footballers and why there are no leaders anymore. And it's about money, it's about people like Paul Pogba, it's about people like Jesse Lingard, and it's generated a lot of debate on the Patreon page. So the Patreon page is really going to be topical things that we can go really, really, really minute in and get things going on like that. Whereas our YouTube page is obviously more headline, more going through a lot of topics, and it, I love the YouTube side of things, but I think we're going to have a lot of fun on the Patreon page as well. So get involved with it. Link in the video description, and there's a couple of videos for you to go and watch there after here as well. Talking about Paul Pogba, these are not definite quotes, but these have come out from, I think one was Yahoo and Yahoo Sports, and the other one was a journalist from Spain. We'll start off with the journalist from Spain, who says that Barcelona have been offered Paul Pogba, but they don't want him unless it's less than the £89 million that United paid for him. Absolute nonsense. However, the second one is that a source close to Mourinho has said he likes Pogba as a player, but Pogba isn't focused on football. He's more focused on brand, hairstyle and his shoes, and that's what frustrates Mourinho with him. Now, that's probably quite a fair comment. That is probably quite a fair comment. I mean, we delve into this a lot more on the Patreon comments on the video, and look at football in a bigger sense and compare to the class of '92. But in essence, I think Mourinho is probably right there. I mean, I don't know whether that quote is true, but I would imagine there's probably some sense in that quote, because I think Pogba is somebody, like Roy Keane said, he's looks like he's playing a game. Doesn't look like it's not, don't want to say it doesn't matter, but where's the passion? Where's the, like when he came on against Sevilla, that, all right, you shouldn't have been dropped, but you should be coming on for that last 40 minutes and just grabbing that game with pure aggression and determination and showcasing your talent and dragging United through, and that doesn't materialise. And I think that is a frustration with Mourinho, and I've seen a lot of people sort of saying today about Pogba, Mourinho doesn't know how to use him. France do. Well, I don't know. I think a lot of it's got to fall on Pogba's shoes. I see both sides. I'm Mourinho in. I don't apologise for that. I know a lot of you aren't, and I respect that. And I hope you respect my opinion, even though you disagree with it. But in relation to Paul Pogba, I do look at him. I really like him. I think he's a fantastic player. And I think he is... There's very few players like him in the world when he's on his game. But I do share the frustration that some fans have with him because I think it falls on his shoulders. He is the man with the talent. Nobody's... once you walk out onto that pitch, no one's responsible for their actions other than yourself. And he's got to conduct himself in a way that benefits himself and Manchester United, and I think that needs to drop into his head a little bit more. I worry about Pogba that too many times he's gone missing this season when we've needed him. When he's on it, he's on it, but when he's off it, he may as well be replaced by Fellaini or McTominay, and that is a worrying thing, really. Pogba played well last night. Mourinho's system is too rigid, says Alan Bistard. Yes. I sort of agree with you, but I sort of disagree with you as well, because I don't buy into this Pogba can only play in a certain system. It's like saying, how restrictive... You're not a world-class player if you can only play in a midfield three on the left-hand side and you give him freedom. That's nonsense. If you're a world-class player, and especially if you're a world-class midfielder or a top-class midfielder, you should be able to play in a multitude of positions, especially in the midfield. He should be able to play in a midfield too. He should be able to play as a number 10. He should be able to play in a more defensive position, and he should be able to play in a more offensive position. But idealistically, he should be a hybrid of both and a box-to-box. And he can do that. But I think, whether he's throwing his toys out the pram, he's going through a lack of form, a lot of it's got to fall on Pogba. Yeah, you can say the tactics of Mourinho aren't great, but, I very much doubt Paul Pogba's told that when he gets the ball, just pass it backwards and don't try and go forwards, because Pogba's one of the best in the world at that. Andrew Case, Victor says, in our press there was an article that Bale agreed to sign for us. Your thoughts on that? We get a lot of that. I think many Manchester United fans feel with Bale that we'll have to just wait and see if it actually happens, but not many people do agree with it. Don Balon, which I think is a Spanish outlet, has reported that Jose Mourinho has offered Rakitic from Barcelona a pot of gold to come and solve our midfield issues. Rakitic is a very, very consistent midfielder, and I think he would be very, very welcome at Manchester United. But it's not a signing that excites me, and I'm sure a lot of you lot are going to say, oh, well, it excites me, whatever. But he's 30. It's another midfielder who's 30, and if we're going to go for a 30-year-old, Vidal's up for sale. Vidal's got a year left on his contract, like we said on the transfer show yesterday. He's got the same agent as Alexis Sánchez. Chilean, to further what we said in the transfer show yesterday, a Chilean outlet actually says that Vidal's agent has been in England this week talking about a move. I think Vidal or Nainggolan are the only two midfielders I would look at based on their age and go, yes, I know they're older, but short-term targets, only because Vidal and Nainggolan are the closest things, and I've said this, you'll know I've said it many times over the last 18 months, Nainggolan and Vidal are the closest things in world football, and they're the only two I can think of to Roy Keane. They've got the aggression, they've got the box-to-box ability, they've got the tenacity. Unfortunately, they're not 25. They're one's late 20s in Nainggolan, and one's going to be 31 in May in Vidal. But Rakitic is good, but what does he add to our midfield with Matic in there and Pogba? I think we need a little bit more tenacity in that third position. Too late with Bale now, says the Phil688. Shaka, I agree with you. Fabinho, Milankovic, Savic and Pogba would be a pretty good midfield three, with Herrera, Fosu, Pereira at the backups, hopefully. Well, Matic is still going to be here. I don't think we can say anything about that. Lich Kalot's having a go at Martial, playing that he was so good he got subbed after 60 minutes. I don't take any note of international football is my short answer to that. International football is championship standard, and for anybody who's watched the last two England games, I personally do think Wolverhampton Wanderers would wipe the floor with England. So I don't take any notice of what Pogba did, De Gea did, Lingard did. I'm not bothered. It's international football, and even if I did care, so what? You don't get anything for what they do in international football. It's all about what happens against Swansea on Saturday, which I must remind you, 1 PM tomorrow is our preview show. Looking forward to that because we'll be able to delve into a little bit of tactics and stuff as well, which is good. Little bit of talk about De Gea. Some positive news about De Gea, I feel. I think De Gea may well be staying at Manchester United. Now, don't shoot the messenger here, but I did say at the start of the transfer window, at some point over this transfer window, the last international break before the summer in the transfer window, it normally kicks off with De Gea. It has done for the last 3 years. Because he's on Spanish duty and because he's in Spain, it starts up from the Spanish press, De Gea to Madrid. It's not started up. And I think that's a real positive for us, because my only concern is it started up for the last few years and he's not gone. It's not started up this time. Does that mean he is going? Hopefully not. I'm quite confident that De Gea might end up staying at Manchester United, which I think is massive news for us, because let's be honest, De Gea is our best player over the last 5 years. And as it said on the United Stand Twitter account today, it did make me laugh. What was it? De Gea has been playing world class in a poor United team for 5 years. Manuel Neuer has been stat padding in a pub league for the last 5 years, and Edison can't keep a clean sheet with £350 million worth of defenders in front of him. So De Gea is the best goalkeeper in the world. If you can have that as your goalkeeper and you can build forward from that, you've got a massive platform. I thought we were going to lose De Gea last summer, and fair play to Ross, he said he won't. Now whether that was a guess or not, I don't know, but he was right. If De Gea is going to stay at Manchester United, that is fantastic news, because you're building from that world-class goalkeeper. If he goes, whoever we get in, it's a step down. It wouldn't matter if it was Donnarumma or Oblak. It's still a step down. He's that good. So if you get De Gea, you keep Bailly, obviously. You get a good partner for Bailly. And there's talk of Umtiti, which I think would be, if we could pull that off, it would be like nearly pulling Ramos off a few years ago. That sounded wrong. But yeah, I think De Gea is going to stay, simply because there just doesn't seem to be much of a clamour around him, and the opportunity for that to happen would have been now. Ben Pitts has made a contribution. Thank you to that, Ben. You can do that through the $sign on the live comments. Just if you do make a contribution, make sure you leave us a question so we can shout you out. He says we should sign Umtiti, Tierney, Rabiot from PSG, Savic, and make Rashford number 10 and tie De Gea down for life. Umtiti, Tierney, Rabiot, and Milankovic-Savic. Yeah, wouldn't be opposed to those. Would not be opposed to those at all. Very good signings. So you get a centre back, a left back, and 2 midfielders. I could work with that. I'm not convinced we're going to try a striker. Although Chris Andrews says Umtiti's not needed. No more centre backs. I sort of would have agreed with you a week ago, Chris, when people were talking about centre backs, because we do have Rojo, Bailly. God, Rojo had a nightmare, didn't he, for Argentina? Did he play for Argentina, actually? I'm saying that. Argentina got battered. Did Rojo? I didn't watch that game. I thought Rojo was injured. Did Rojo play? Because I heard people saying Rojo played rubbish last night. But he's injured, isn't he? No, Rojo can't have played. Correct me if I'm wrong. But we've got Rojo, Bailly, Smalling, Jones, Lindelof. 5. Then you've got, you presume Blind will go, but Twansibi. So that's 6. 6 centre-backs, which, with United's recent history, well, not even recent, even as far back as Sir Alex Ferguson's last few years, we were always getting injuries to our defenders. So he did play last night at Rojo. Right, God, well, that's good news. I wouldn't be going and buying like a Maguire from Leicester, like people are mentioning, or someone like that. However, if Umtiti is available, that's a different story, because that is a world-class centre-back available, and if you can't turn down a world-class centre-back. If it's just another punt in the dark like a Lindelof, I wouldn't do it. I'd stick with what we've got. But if it actually is that opportunity, then yes, I would. Fosu Mensah can play centre-back as well, says Active Dan. He is right. And Matthew McFadden says, we've got a lot of centre-backs, but not a lot of quality centre-backs. That's the biggest issue. He's done it again. He's hit the nail on the head. Rojo did play last night. Well, there we go. Yeah, so yeah, I would go for a centre back. If it was the quality of Umtiti. But midfield is where it's got to be done. We all know it. Midfield is where we've got to go. And as we started the show, if Fabinho's off the cards, it limits our options a bit. But there are options out there. Tyrone Williams says, I'm surprised you say that. Maguire's decent. Is Maguire a top 4 centre-back? That's all I ever say. All I ever say. I mean, as I said, if you don't look, all I'm bothered about is Manchester United and Manchester United winning titles, and that is my ceiling. I look at what can come into our team and make us look like a title-winning side, and that's why I say things like Jesse Lingard for me is a squad player. And as I've said before, Nicky Butt, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, John O'Shea, Wes Brown, very, very good players, all squad players. So Jesse Lingard being a squad player for Manchester United is actually a positive. I just don't think he's a first teamer that we can win a title with. The same with people like, Ashley Young. All right, he's coming towards the end of his career, but I think he's a squad player, not a starter. We need a proper left back to come in there. So I look at someone like Maguire and I think, you know what? I'm not convinced he's a top 4 player. I'm not convinced he's a top 4 player. Maybe I'll be proved wrong, but I don't think he is. And if you're not a top 4 player, you can't be a player that's going to win us a title. He's a backup centre back, says Efan. Do I miss Rooney, says Daniel Taylor? No, not really. Andrew Southwick's heading into a doctor's appointment. I'll catch you later. All the best, Andrew. Hope it clears up. And that was a joke. I did want to mention Isco. Isco obviously played fantastically well for Spain last night in a game that Rojo played. He came out with a comment after the game saying that he must be the problem at Real Madrid because he wants to play consistently, and then there's been talk about him leaving. Look, I don't think we're going to get Isco this summer. I do think we're going to sign one attacker, and I think if we're going to sign an attacker, it's probably going to be marquee, i.e. it might be Bale, it might be Dybala. Isco would fit in as being a marquee signing. I think he'd be a revelation at Manchester City. At Manchester United, I think he might find the same problem that he finds at Real Madrid, that he doesn't actually fit the system they play. Where you want Isco is where I think we've tried to have a player for the last 3 or 4 years, specifically a number 10. He glides past players, he's got brilliant first touch, he's a creator. We've tried Lingard there, to be fair, and Lingard for me just has got no creativity about him at all. He's a spin and run player, he's not a intricate one-touch either needle pass player. But we've got one of those in Mata and we never play him there, so I don't think Jose really has an appetite for that sort of player, but the Storm says Isco would be the next step for this club. I think I would like an Isco in a Manchester United side. I think Sir Alex Ferguson would probably like an Isco in his side, but I don't think he's the sort of player that Mourinho wants, because otherwise why has he never played Juan Mata there? Jose only thinks of the here and now, says Robert Ingram. He doesn't think about the future of the club. Manolas, says Jake Bullman. You wanted him before. Yeah, always been a big fan of Manolas, but doesn't look like he's ever going to get that sort of move. Although I don't think he's particularly old. I think he's still mid-20s. It's a bit like Koulibaly as well. I expected him to move on from Italy, but Dybala is the ideal replacement for Rooney. He has the vision and the flair too, says Tyrone again. Dybala would be a fantastic signing for Manchester United. Paul Robinson would prefer Isco over Dybala. And if we are worried about how well Jose will do with technical flair players, we might as well sign no one, says Andrew K. And Wet Lettuce likes a bit of Umtiti. I bet you do. Bye, Sandro. And Sidibe, Manolas, Verratti and Vidal, says Geary. And if Isco comes to England, he will only go to one place, says Lion Pride. I agree, and it will be Manchester City. I think that's exactly where he would go. Mark, do you think United can sign good quality players with Jose's style, says Andrew Ebanks? Yeah, I do, because it's sort of like what I was talking about on the Patreon Club this afternoon. Footballers will go for money. Footballers will go for money. Of course they will. Di Maria came to United. Falcao came to United. Players aren't gonna. I think if they're faced with a choice between Manchester City and Manchester United, or Barcelona and Manchester United, then they're going to go to the footballing team. Of course they are. But if Manchester City don't want them, then they're going to come to Manchester United, aren't they, if we're offering them money? Which, actually, I must just say, I think his name's David Ormstein, BBC journalist. Very good. Very, very good to us. Very good in relation to Arsenal. A bit like Simon Stone for the BBC and Manchester United. Very good as well. Tends to be when he says something, there is some truth in it. So apparently he's been saying that Alexis Sánchez was just desperate to get out of Arsenal in January. He would have gone to any club. And that he was, happy to go to Manchester City and play with Pep, but Manchester United's offer just blew everybody out of the water. It was so big, and obviously he'd wanted to play for Manchester United since he was a kid, so that's why he went there. But he literally would have gone to any club, which I find really interesting because there's a lot of Arsenal fans on social media trying to use that as a stick to hit Manchester United fans with by saying, he would have gone to any club. They don't realise, this is Arsenal fans for you, they don't realise, do they, that they are still 17 points behind us in the league and 30-something points behind Arsenal. They wish, behind Man City. But best of all, okay, he came to us because he wanted to get out, but he wanted to get out of Arsenal. He would have gone to any club to get out of Arsenal. They're so stupid they don't realise the joke's on them. Sanchez was so desperate to get out of their small, insignificant, horrible club that he would have gone anywhere. And obviously we were the highest bidder. But I do expect, in relation to... Look, Lion Pride's just said it there. Money is the factor, isn't it? And you can't hide behind it. If it had been the same amount of money on the table, would he have come to Manchester United or Manchester City? I'd like to think Manchester United. There's no reason why not. He supported us as a kid, but maybe not. I don't know. But money talks, and he's the prime example because actually, Manchester City, Manchester United in January, Man City were always going to win the title. They were playing good football. Manchester United, Mourinho not playing great football, and Alexis Sánchez came to us. Now, was that for money, or was it the lure of Manchester United? We're still a very, very big club. But as Amri says, money talks. And Mark, why don't you call people like Rodney and Ross anymore? Says Matthias Murray. We do. Rodney was on the other day, and Ross has been on as well. So, what else? Well, I do think Alexis Sánchez will come good. By the way, he's too good not to. And I'm looking forward to the Swansea game at the weekend. I think it's the perfect game for us because we. That's the one thing I'm clinging on to was what Mourinho said in the post-match of Brighton, where he said, I've spent 2 days trying to get the players to play quick passes forward, and they've not followed that example. So hopefully we'll see a repeat of that on Saturday afternoon, and the players will follow Mourinho's new tactics. And I think that's when you start to get the best out of Pogba, Martial, Lingard, Sanchez, Rashford. And then Lukaku benefits because the more attacking we are, the more chances he gets. And we've seen from Lukaku, he's not really there to create, he's there to score goals. You give him chances, he'll score goals. So that's what I'm hoping to see. Ice Cold says, Mark, $2 and you do the Scousers for a minute. Thanks for the contribution. No, I'm not doing Scouse for 2 minutes. But the latest Patreon uploads all in Scouse, so get yourself over there. It isn't, but I could do one on there, couldn't I? We always play bad after the international break, says Hadi Hinawai. Yes, a lot of teams do, but at least we're at home against the side that, yes, they're fighting for their lives, but if we can't beat Swansea, we're in big, big trouble, and then it's all about the derby, isn't it? Unfortunately, we're not in the Champions League next week. But remember, Man City will be coming off the back of that Liverpool game on the Wednesday, and then they've got, I think we're playing them on the Saturday at 5:30, so... Might be a bit of an advantage for us to have a whole week of training in the new Mourinho way. I'm not deluded, I'm just hopeful. But he's got a whole week next week to get them all doing attacking football. We're going to play City off the park at the Etihad and stop them winning the title. But yeah, I agree with Lion Pride again. You've got to give Sanchez next season because being signed in January isn't necessarily that easy. Sell Sanchez to China and buy Dybala, says Avinash in the next breath. And Matthias Mora thinks we're going to beat City with a huge contribution from Sanchez and Alexandro. Yeah, good player. City I would definitely get if we can get him. Who did Jose miss out on? I've just joined Mark Mundell. So Fabinho is apparently about to sign a new contract, a long-term contract at Monaco, which is really disappointing because I've wanted us to sign Fabinho now for probably 2 years. I was pretty much sure he was going to leave Monaco this summer, and I was hoping that Manchester United would be at the front of the queue because he's exactly what we need in that centre defensive midfield role. But it's coming over from a reliable French outlet, Canal Plus, that he's about to sign a new contract at Monaco, which would mean we're not signing him because who signs a new contract in March and then gets sold in the summer? He's already he's not coming towards the end of his contract anyway, as far as I recall. So yeah, disappointing. Anyway, another reminder, link in the video description, click the eye in the top right hand corner, Patreon page, $2 a month, and we're going to put 2 videos up a week on there and do live streams on there. It's going to be an exclusive United Stand members club, and we're basically going to be talking about topical things. Today there's a video going up this afternoon talking about the modern footballer, how they compare to people like the class of 92 and why there are no leaders left in football. Interesting debate, lots of interesting comments on there for already. Get yourself over onto there. Less than a pint a month and you're going to get loads and loads of extra Manchester United content. We've got some fun little games on there as well that we've got planned, so give it a go, and if you're already on there, let everyone know what it's all about and get involved. But links in the video description for that, or click the eye in the top right hand corner. I'll be back at 1 PM tomorrow with the preview. Good show planned, lots to talk about, interesting formation, tactics as well. Looking forward to it. Football's back. Thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you all soon. Give the Patreon page a look.